here, because I want to put this in a way that the average Joe can understand exactly where we are in American empire, where we are today in geopolitics, economics, and the political scene, okay? Because I want you to remember that Joe Biden just announced another aid package to Ukraine in the billions of dollars, okay? I want you to put that in your mind and let that marinate as we talk about the state of America, because we're going to talk about her globally, but we're also going to talk about her domestically as everything breaks down right in front of our eyes. Now, why did I say what I said? It's because no matter what the situation may be, America is always in other people's business. She can always give them, and she can always invest in their so-called sovereignty, their so-called political independence, while losing her own, okay? How in the world can you be America first? Because I want people who claim to be America first and always are supporting these massive spending increases by the military industrial complex and by the Pentagon. I want you to see how hypocritical you are. You often talk about America first, but you leave America at home exposed. You leave America at home in decline, deteriorating, divisions across the board, be it racial division, ethnic division, economic divisions, where political divisions, wherever it may be, you continue to leave those at home to fester and bubble and boil over, while you're talking about securing democracy in Ukraine and securing Ukrainian freedom, while you continue to blast us with fascist laws and dictatorial laws, okay, and suppressing freedom of speech and independence here at home. You see the hypocrisy of that. That goes back to what I'm telling you about the bridge collapse in Philadelphia and the bridge collapse down in South Florida, okay, and the constant water boiling warnings that you get, because we get them here in Florida too all the time about warning, boil your water. Now we see that Philadelphia now is experiencing that advisory too. This is going on, I might add, while America is putting another multi-billion-dollar aid package out for Ukraine. This is why America is spending tens of billions of dollars to pivot her military posture to Asia. This is why America is reinvesting and tripling down on billions in military expenditures to have more escapades in North Africa. This is why America is doubling down and investing hundreds of millions of dollars to try to suppress Latin America. You understand? I want to go to something. I want to refresh everybody's memory. I want you to pay close attention to this. You know what? I'm going to do it in reverse this time. I want you to listen to this. We're going to play the video that I played months ago about America's infrastructure and how nations are fleeing the dollar, and how America, her bridge and infrastructures are in need of urgent repair. 65,000 are in need of urgent repair. We're going to play that because I want to refresh your memory, because there's no time like right now to refresh your memory as America is dealing with another bridge collapse or overpass collapse or interstate collapse, whichever one they want to name it, right in her midst. The contempt that she has for her own people, to announce that she's going to give Ukraine another multi-billion-dollar military package while another bridge collapses and people are having to boil their water, while Flint, Michigan is still dealing with a water crisis, okay? So this shows us we don't have to debate it, but since people like to debate, this shows us that we are living in American decline. Imperial decline, imperial rot, okay? I want you to listen to this clip here as I play it, and then we'll come right back, because I got a couple more short ones that I want to play with you. This one is like 5 or 6 minutes, so I want you to play. Matter of fact, hold on one second. All right, here we go. We're going to go and play the advisory first, because we don't want any problems. Here we are. Now, as we played the advisory, let's revisit this video clip here, because I want you to keep in your mind that America has just doubled down and said she's getting ready to provide another multi-billion-dollar aid package to Ukraine, all while we see infrastructure crumbling in America. Because we're going to have some more videos along this line, and then we're going to venture out, okay? So just give me a little of your time and just pay close attention to this right here. Pay close attention.
Dr. Francisco, just before the break, Clive made the point that you're trusting the medium rather than the person. When it comes to the United States, I don't trust the person or the medium. I'd be happy if I never bought another American thing or saw another American dollar because I don't like bullies. Isn't this partly the end of the era of the bully?
I think multipolarity is here. I think that's the key, and the dollar is dying. There is no question about it. Let me give you some figures that are quite important. The GDP of the United States is 24 trillion. The debt, the public debt, is 30 trillion. The difference between the total gross domestic product and the debt is 6 trillion. 6 trillion is equivalent to the combined GDPs of the whole of the Latin American countries together, including Brazil. That gives you an idea of the problem. That's number one. There is a US debt clock, which you can find in the internet. I ran it before coming to the show. And I ran it for 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, the amount of debt that increased in the United States was 8 billion. Now, 8 billion is, if you have 3 of them, that is the GDP of Nicaragua. If you have 5 of them, that's the GDP of Bolivia. The United States have a very serious problem of infrastructure. Their productivity is low. The number of bridges in the United States that require urgent repair, not repair, urgent repair, is 65,000. The quality of the road, according to the American Society of Civil Engineers, they produce a report every year, 42% of the roads are mediocre or in need of repair. The electricity plants, airports, and so on, everything is a complete mess. The United States doesn't have high-speed trains. It doesn't. Sorry to say like this, even Spain has them. So that gives you an idea of the problem. And the United States economy is growing at a rate of something between 2 and 1%. The Chinese economy, with all the problems, is growing at a rate of 7%. So that means in the next 10 years, arithmetically, the US economy is going to be 20% bigger, and the Chinese economy is going to be 70% bigger. Now, if you take what countries have done regarding this question of the dollar, possibly people do not know, but China and Japan are conducting their foreign trade in their currencies. Iran is conducting their business in no dollar. Russia and China, Iraq, and many other countries. But the recent decision by the Saudi Arabia to actually conduct the selling of their oil to China in yuan. Now, China buys 25% of the total output of Saudi Arabia. This is 30 billion. The United States purchases only 7%. So if you keep going down, you can see that there is already a multipolarity of initiatives. What we don't have is the international architecture, financially speaking, so that there is a system which is coherent, is international, it works, it has legal security that gives you legal confidence that if you enter into a transaction in that system, you know, whatever it is going to be respected. That has to happen, but it's beginning to take place already. So the United States is in a real trouble, and it doesn't have any possibility. I just looked at the budget that Joe Biden presented to Congress for 2023. It's a very long document. It has three key components. Number one, domestic security. It's going to give to the police, domestically, huge amount of resources. The organization Black Lives Matter said, this is not what we want. You know what happened when they have resources. And basically, Biden is trying to get votes from the right by doing this. That's number one. Number two is international security. He increased the budget, the military budget, to $773 billion, which is $30 billion more than in the previous administration. And surprisingly, he's going to apply a tax of 20% on the fortunes of 100 million upwards, which is going to produce 360 billion, and it's going to reduce the budget deficit and the deficit of the United States by 1 trillion in 10 years. So it's totally useless. And in order for this budget to be passed, he needs to win it in the House, in Congress. He's got a majority.
Control over which he may well lose in November.
Certainly, but at the moment, if we were to propose it, he will pass it in the House, but he will not be able to pass it through Congress because there is 50-50. And Democrat right-wing, Joe Manchin, already said he's not going to support it. So it's already, not only is useless as a proposal to recover the economy, but it's already dead before it begins. So that gives you an idea of the problems that they have. So the issue, strategically, from their point of view, is this. Do they continue waging war against everybody else? And who else is there to wage war? Their calculation, it seems to me, was if we are able to bully Russia and make them accept our way, and then later on we'll continue with that until, we produce something equivalent to regime change, isolating China thereby, and therefore the next move is to attack China. And this one hasn't worked. The next one is certainly not going to work. So the United States is desperate because he's facing a very serious challenge. Number one, energy and resources from Russia to Europe, which really needs them, and the Belt and Road Initiative by China, which is, at the moment, is in the region of $5 trillion. So therefore, facing with this huge, very attractive embrace from these two nations that have huge resources, one natural resource, the other one technology, markets, money, and credit, and investment, infrastructure, is very difficult to say no. So the only possibility for them is war, war, war.
So he says America's only possibility is war, more war. Now, he said a few things in there. Remember that this took place right before Joe Biden was elected, okay, which was only a few years, right? So now listen. He says at the time, the U.S. economy was 24 trillion. He said that the debt was 30 trillion. Now, how is the U.S. economy a $30 trillion economy when all of the economic barometers have deteriorated? I'm asking you this. I want you to pay close attention to this. I see Rashid in the booth. We got my co-host back in the booth. Rashid, let me finish this train of thought and I'll bring you in, okay? Because I got to play these two short videos. Give me 1 second. Listen, if unemployment has spiked, if homelessness has spiked, if manufacturing is almost non-existent, if more banks are foreclosing, more banks are going belly up, bankrupt, like we saw in Silicon Valley, if more businesses are consolidating, right? If tax revenue is drying up, if America is persecuting and prosecuting more wars, right? And she's producing little to nothing, how in the hell can you go from 24 to 30? Now, I'm not the greatest mathematician in the world, but my common sense tells me that if my financial situation deteriorates, I'm not in a better financial condition. I'm in a worsened financial condition, right? So, but listen, this is the funny book that they do. They knew that the debt would have to be reported at roughly 30 to 34 trillion. So America upped her domestic product, funny money, bookmaking schemes to 30 trillion, so it wouldn't look so bad as the debt exploded over to 31 or 32 trillion, okay? Now, again, if we just look at what he said prior to the election, and the acknowledged debt was 30 trillion, and they've been spending trillions of dollars, how the hell do we still stay at 31 trillion? I want people to tell me this, because I might not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm definitely not the butter knife, okay? So how in the world, if you've spent trillions since you've taken office, and the debt before you took office or before you were even elected was acknowledged to be 30, so how are we just at 31? I'm asking that. Okay, we're going to find out shortly. Rashid got disconnected, and he's trying to get back in, so I see it. Now, it's something he said. Everything, he didn't say some. He didn't say most. He said everything, which encompasses all things, right, is a complete mess. Look at the state of the cities. Look at the state of the counties. Look at the state of the state, and look at the state of the nation. Everything has deteriorated and declined, okay? The moral standards have declined. The ethical standards and practice have declined, right? Corruption has proceeded unabated by any moral thinkers. The government has been, it is totally corrupt, okay? Now listen, we're talking about 65,000 bridges, roads, and infrastructure projects that are in urgent need of repair. That's what he said, right? Now, he said that prior to. Now, let us look at something. This is one from 10 years ago, all right? This is 17 seconds. I want you to look at this.
Time to show you some of this morning's headlines. USA Today says tens of thousands of bridges in the county need repair. 65,000 are classified as structurally deficient. Another 20,000 are, quote, fracture critical. That means they could collapse if a single component fails.
Did you guys see that number up there? 10 years ago, 65,000 in urgent need of repair. So what that guy was basing his thoughts on was 10 years ago, even though it took place 2 years ago or a year or so ago when he did this interview. So there's no way, if the investment has dried up, that is still at 65,000 bridges, roads, streets, overpasses, and infrastructure that is in urgent need of repair. That's 10 years ago. See, I pull up facts. I pull up facts and I show you. So we're looking at it. If he thought it was 65,000, and that was 10 years ago that he was basing his numbers off of, think about how many more are in distress right now when we are 10 years from that first estimate.